The compact luxury sedan has always been a pretty important offering in the luxury space. Thankfully, Lexus has always had a pretty strong entry. This week, the company has sent me over their latest IS 300 with the F Sport package. Let's take a look and see some of the changes Lexus has made. So over the years, Lexus has certainly sent me over their fair share of IS models. In fact, it all started 2 years ago when I had an IS 250 all-wheel drive. Wasn't terribly impressed with it. It's the volume seller in the IS lineup. Then they sent me the new IS 300, which had the new V6 with more horsepower. And now, for 2017, Lexus gave the IS line a pretty big refresh. The exterior look has been changed up in the front, the rear. The interior got this all-new screen in the center stack, which is finally appropriate for this class, 10.3 inches, whereas it replaces that 7-inch screen that the pre-refresh models had. And when they replaced this the IS 250 in 2016, they added the one thing that the IS 250 was really lacking, and that was power. Now, the IS 300, don't be confused basically by the name. This is not a 3-liter V6. This is a 3.5-liter V6. The same V6 that's in the IS 350, however, it's been detuned. Lexus basically chopped off 51 horsepower. It now makes 255 horsepower and about 41 pound-feet of torque, about 236 pound-feet of torque. Now, that number is pretty competitive with all the other base engines in the segment. Lexus still offers the IS lineup in 3 different powertrains, starting at IS 200T, which has a 2-liter turbo 4, IS 300, which only comes in all-wheel drive, and then there's the IS 350, which is available in rear or all-wheel drive. Now, going down the road, driving the IS is a pretty pleasant experience. I mean, anything in this segment is a really nice driving luxury sedan. Now, you can see the design of the new IS certainly has a new look to it. It's got, slightly reshaped headlights. It's got a new front fascia. My tester has the F Sport package, so that gives you sport suspension, a unique front and rear and side styling. It's got unique wheels. It's got unique interior accents. It's about a $3,100 option for the F Sport package. I kind of highly recommend it, honestly. It looks fantastic, especially in this ultrasonic blue mica paint color that my tester has been graced with. Now, getting up on the highway here, I'm going to basically say that the IS is still a great driving luxury sedan. I mean, when you put this vehicle into its normal setting and just kind of cruise, this car surprisingly isn't as quiet as I thought it would be. The F Sport model, comes with high-performance tires, a slightly sportier suspension tuning, so there is a little bit more noise than what you associate with a Lexus, but this is kind of more skewing toward the sportier end. The IS, if you guys remember, was the first Lexus model to actually be a sportier Lexus in general, and it really kind of changed people's perception of Lexus. This used to be one of the company's best sellers, but recently, the ES and the RX, took that away from the IS. But cruising down the road here, it's a really nice driving car. You have great visibility, great view out of the front, great side mirrors. Now, for 2017, Lexus did make one critical safety improvement, and that's making their Lexus Safety System Plus as standard. So you're going to get automatic emergency braking, forward collision alert, lane departure alert with steering assist, adaptive cruise control, but no low-speed follow. It surprised me actually how this car doesn't have the low-speed follow. But other than that, Lexus makes that as standard, whereas some of its competitors make you pay extra for like a driver assistance package. Now, another thing that Lexus offers is a good amount of value. I mean, LED headlights are standard. You're going to get the smart key access system key. Really, my tester has a few options on it. It's got the F Sport package for $3,200. It's got the Mark Levinson nav package for $2,800. It's got the blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert for $600. And I mean, in terms of luxury sedan, this one is priced at just under 50 grand, kind of right smack in the middle of all the other players. And you know what? The design certainly still stands out. Whether you like the design or not, I think it's certainly, I think it certainly looks handsome in this blue color. I'm not really a fan of the rear of the car. I wasn't really a fan of the pre-refresh model. The new taillights certainly look strange. I don't particularly like the separate headlights with the fisheye or the fish hook LED running light. It's just a very polarizing car. I don't particularly think the IS has aged well. There are a lot better looking, or at least more conservatively styled sedans that I think will age better, but you can't deny the fact that this car definitely stands out. And really, driving the IS300 F Sport really comes to mind, or what comes to mind for me is a 2018 Acura TLX A-Spec, with all-wheel drive. The two are priced very, very similarly, although the Lexus, I will say, is smaller in size, which gives it more of a sportier feel. The Acura kind of had more interior space, which is what some of you could probably want. Now, because I don't have an IS350 F Sport, it doesn't include the adaptive variable suspension. It also doesn't give you the power tilt telescoping wheel and a Sport Plus mode. So really, when you turn the dial here all the way to Sport, it only has one Sport mode, which when you do, it sort of adds a little bit of heft to the steering. I find that it doesn't really change too much with the suspension. The suspension honestly feels the same. Mostly I just feel the transmission and the steering change a little bit. So I kind of think the F Sport package is a little obsolete in the 300 model, because this model's mission is not to be a sports sedan. It's to be more of a luxury sedan. People who buy this, it comes standard with all-wheel drive. They're not going to be, taking this vehicle to the track or really driving it super aggressively. It's more designed to be comfortable. And the F Sport package kind of makes this a little bit more firmer riding and adds a little bit more noise. Another thing the F Sport package adds is a kind of a sound generator. So when you have your foot deep into the throttle, it produces amplified induction noise, which I kind of like. This is a traditional 3.5-liter V6. It's paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission. That's right, 6 gears. Whereas a lot of the competitors are moving to 8, 9, even 10 speeds. Lexus is still stuck at 6. And really, you only get the 6-speed auto if you guys go for all-wheel drive, which accounts for like over 50% of the sales for this car. So a lot of you actually never get to experience the rear drive model with its 8-speed automatic, which is kind of disappointing. I really would like to see Lexus, get rid of the 6-speed automatic. It's a fine transmission. It's smooth enough, but because it's got so little gears compared to its competition, I find that it knocks the engine out of its power band. Lexus says that this combination will still get to 60 in around 6.1 seconds. To me, it doesn't feel like that. It feels closer to 7 seconds, honestly. Much quicker than the IS250 all-wheel drive, which took like 8.2 seconds, which was downright slow for this segment. But in terms of like a luxury sedan, the IS definitely confuses me, because it's relatively noisy in here with this F Sport package. It's missing memory seats as well, which really confused me. Although you do get cooled seats, heated and cooled seats, and a heated steering wheel. If you want the memory seats, you actually have to get the luxury package. That feature should be standard on a car like this. I do particularly like the seats. The seats are more aggressively bolstered. They hug you in place really well. The leather also feels really nice and soft. It's supple. The steering wheel also feels good in your hands. It's a slightly thicker rim. You do get these paddle shifters, which are mounted to the column. They're made of plastic. They don't feel all that great to use. They don't work, honestly, all that great. So, but when you kind of just, cruise along, you put the vehicle until it's, eco mode and just kind of drive it, to and from work like I'm doing here on this interstate. The IS is certainly a nice driving car, and even with the cruise control on, you can see here, coming up to traffic, the cruise control works pretty well. It works like all the other Lexus products, except when somebody decides to cut you off like that, which happens a lot. It's one of the reasons why sometimes people don't really trust these adaptive cruise control systems. But after a week's worth of testing, you're probably wondering how much is the gas, or what have I been getting fuel economy wise? Now, Lexus rates this car at 1926. I've been averaging around 19.5 miles per gallon. On the highway, I got it up to about 25. So, this 300 model is actually rated the same as the IS350. Really, you're only buying the 300 because it's at a price point. The IS350 with more power actually costs about $3,000 more on top of this. Now let's talk a little bit about the interior of the refreshed IS. You can see that 10.3-inch display is much improved. I mean, the old model had that 7-inch display, which had like the black bezels. It literally looked a little bit cheap. It was too small for the dash. This actually takes up the entire space here. I like the fact that it's not, that tablet-style screen that sticks up. It works pretty well. It's right in your line of sight. It's not a touchscreen, of course. It's all controlled from this Lexus Inform Connect mouse pad thing, which doesn't work all that well. You can see while I'm driving here, if I'm trying to change my presets, I literally sometimes will overshoot which preset I want, which kind of annoys me. It's distracting, which makes me want to use the steering wheel controls here, which is a little bit better. But if you're trying to go to your nav setting here, forget about it while you're driving. It's just, you're probably going to have an accident, which is a good thing. This car has automatic braking, because if you're not paying attention, it will slam on the brakes for you and beep. wildly to let you know, hey, you're an idiot, you're about to crash into the person in front of you. Now, the Lexus steering assist system, to me, didn't work all that intuitively. It kind of waits to the last minute before it intervenes. I've definitely tested better systems. I'd like to see Lexus eventually, innovate more with their driver assistance tech, kind of approach more the level 3 autonomy. The driving position of this car is pretty good. It's really easy to drive, honestly. One thing that this car still has with the all-wheel drive models is this little bump right here that kind of you rest your calf on when you're basically driving the car. It kind of annoys some people. For me, I got used to it. It's a nice place to rest your calf. It's basically just components for the all-wheel drive system. I would like to see Lexus eventually move away from this intrusion into the interior. It makes the interior feel a little bit cozy. If you guys are a little bit wider, you're not going to really appreciate how snug it fits in here. So how does the IS fit into this very competitive segment? We've got an all-new 3 Series coming out. The C-Class is pretty much one of the best one in the business. Same with the A4. The TLX A spec that I drove is the value leader in this segment, although its sales certainly haven't been the best. The IS has always been a really solid choice. It's got a great reputation for reliability, excellent resale value because it's a Lexus, and to me, just driving this IS 300, it feels old. It has a great chassis, it handles well, the steering is responsive, if slightly numb, it's quick steering, it just doesn't give you much road feel. And the acceleration, the 6-speed auto really holds it back, and to me, it's fast enough for probably most people, but as a sports sedan or a luxury sports sedan, I would want more power, which means I'd have to go for the IS 350 with its 306 horsepower, V6, and I'd probably go for the rear drive model just because I don't particularly need all-wheel drive. For the next generation IS, I would love to see Lexus do several things. I'd love to see them completely replace the naturally aspirated V6. They need to go to a twin turbo V6 like all the competitors. They need to go to their 10-speed automatic. And really, Lexus needs to completely redo their interface for their infotainment system. I'd like to see Android Auto and CarPlay. They showed, I sampled the next generation in the new LC, which I felt was better, still a little bit distracting. I'm really hoping that Lexus is listening to the comments that critics like myself are giving and the consumers, because it's just not the most intuitive to use while you're driving. It's a shame because the rest of this interior with this Lexus is relatively nice. There are some pieces in here that remind me a little bit of a Toyota, but Lexus in general does a better job of differentiating themselves from the other luxury brands. Really, if you guys want a well-rounded Japanese luxury sedan, the IS is definitely one of my top picks if you guys can get over the styling. The Infiniti Q50 has the most ballsy engine with its twin turbo V6. That's why I'm saying Lexus needs to go to that. And then the Acura, of course, is the most conservatively styled and also the least expensive. It brings the most value to the table. With all that said, how does this car compare? I think it's still worth a look in this market, but I have some issues, with the near $50,000 price. You can get an Audi A4, which I feel is a much better luxury sedan. Now, of course, there's also the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, which is a little bit more expensive, but it's got an interior and an infotainment system to match, and their engines, which are turbocharged and great. And then, of course, if you want to try something completely new, there's the Alfa Romeo Giulia, the regular one, if you're willing to take a gamble on reliability, with that model. Although when you have an Alfa like that, it really stands out even more, and that's the kind of car that you don't really see too much of. The IS, in general, I see a lot of on the road. But anyways, with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my quick overview of the refreshed 2017 Lexus IS 300 with the F-Sport package. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.